Greetings tankers, it is the Long Con here once again with a much overdue video. I have to apologize, this is just kind of a pastime for me. Regardless, I am here with a video. Here we have the old Clement Voroshilov 3 tank, or the KV3. This tank never existed, at least not in its completed form. From what I understand, it was pretty much based on the KV1, had an extended chassis, and they never got around to finishing the turret for it or some such. So there maybe is one or two test beds of this thing somewhere out there. But be that as it may, it does exist in World of Tanks, and we are able to drive it onward and upwards towards the IS-4. Now I want to focus here for a brief moment on the fuel tanks. It is important to recognize that the fuel tanks are vulnerable. They are right there over the rear quarter panels, just above the tracks. Those big blocks that look like toolboxes. There's also the lower glacis we need to be careful about. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 120 millimeters thick there. So a lot of guns are going to be capable of getting through that, including the German L70 75 millimeter gun that numerous tanks at tier 6, 5 now even, 5, 6, and 7 all use. Also, you want to look out for your upper glacis, that flat bit with the coaxial machine gun and driver port and all that stuff is pretty flat, so guns are also going to be able to get through that. It's also worth mentioning this flat piece of armor right below the turret is a weak spot, so watch out for that. Now the module inspector I think is best for looking at both the location of the ammo rack and the gun stats in terms of gun depression. Ammo rack is incredibly well protected on this tank, so you don't need to worry about it too much. And the gun, which currently is the 107 millimeter, has 7 degrees of gun depression. Now here we got the armor profile. You can see there at the lower and upper glacis joint that there is a much thicker strip of armor that will save your ass. However, all that flat stuff above and below it is only in the 120 millimeter category. We got 90 millimeters of side armor though, and if you get this bad mama in a side scrape protecting all the nose of your tank, as well as your somewhat vulnerable turret cheeks, you'll really be able to bounce the shit out of shots and hold down corners in towns and off the sides of rocks and all that kind of good stuff. Just for those that don't know how to side scrape, here's a brief diagram. Use your imagination. Just as you can see, all that stuff is completely obscured by the blue bar. Let's go ahead and look at those guns. Here's the 122. You'll notice it has just under 5 rounds a minute, 175 penetration, 0.46 accuracy with a 3.4 second aim time, and 390 average damage. I use the 107 solely for the reason that it has 6.19 rounds a minute. The penetration is slightly less, damage is slightly less, it's slightly more accurate, aim's the same. I mean, it's practically the same gun, but that rate of fire will keep you alive. And believe it or not, like that 100th% of accuracy is more accurate. So yeah, you throw enough shit at the walls, eventually it's gonna stick. And you're gonna see it save my ass in this game. Let's take a look. As for equipment on the old girl, I'm running a gun laying drive, a gun rammer, as well as vents, and I do have Brothers in Arms on the crew. All told, I think my reload is just above 8 seconds, and I haven't done the math on my aim time, but I think it's around 2.8, 2.9. So I got a lot of buffs going for me, which makes this thing a lot snappier. So that's beneficial. I would encourage you to use the same equipment, whether or not you're using the 122 or the 107. The gun laying drive, the gun rammer, and the vents are just the way to go. I suppose maybe you could dump the gun laying drive for a spall liner to protect you from artillery, because, you know, fucking artillery. But I think the gun laying drive is probably the way to go. Now, it is a tier 8 game. I played a whole bunch of games in this tank, and also I have to mention, I'm trying to get my 3rd mark of excellence right now. I think I'm around 92%, so I'm doing nothing but shooting APCR and everything. That's not normally what I do. I'm not trying to be a tryhard. It's just I want to get my 3rd star. And I want all my shots to go through. You know, against tier 6 medium tanks and T-25-2s, you don't need to shoot APCR. AP is more than enough, but I'm just being a dick. Now, I'm trying to find the spot on this T-25-2. The first shot hit something hard in front of him that I didn't recognize whenever I was zeroing in on him. And he is aware of me now. I was a little hesitant to show too much side by getting a side scrape on, but there goes the T-25-2. He's toast. I'm just trying to be lateral. I saw that a bunch of tanks were spotted southwards on the map, and while the bulk of my team is going south down the easternmost corridor, I'm going to try to be a little bit sneaky, break through on the flank a little bit, and bring my 107mm 300 alpha damage hitting gun to bear on the sides of these tanks, where it can be most effective, and where I'm also not going to get shot at a whole lot. So far it's pretty successful. I got a kill, probably done about 800, 900 damage, and I'm poised to do more. Now I've got the side of this IS-3 at about, 350 meters range there, 340 meters, something like that, and there's bushes in between us, so he's not going to be able to spot me. Odds are he's not running optics or binocs. He's aware of me now, though. He knows that there's something over here shooting at him, even though he can't see me. He backs off. I got no more shots at him. I had been paying attention to the minimap, though, for quite some time, even before I pushed across that bridge, and noticed that there was a heavy tank moving up. It is an Oni. He's completely unaware of me. I'm going to take advantage of that situation, roll up on his flank, let my gun aim as much as it needs to, and finish him off. T-29 manages to shoot me, however, and I believe that he is using the 90mm. He might have gotten higher. Yeah, he's shooting too fast to have the 105. Definitely the 90mm. He bounced his second shot there. I could pull into cover, get my side scrape on. He bounces one off my tracks, and oh, holy shit, there's the fucking IS-3 that I shot at. Looks like I pissed him off, and he's coming for me. Unfortunately, I'm unable to get a side scrape on with him, as I was unprepared for him. He manages to get one in through my front. I get a shot into him. I get another shot into him. Oh, he's going to get a reload here right quick. That BL9 and pound me again. Oh, no. Oh, and I bounce. Oh, shit. It's alright, though, because I used the 107, and provided this shot does go through, I got this guy dead to rights. There it is. 107mm gun saved my ass. If I'd been using the 122, I probably wouldn't have come out of that one alive. Whew, I'll take it. Oh hey, wouldn't you know, VK45. Believe him to be dueling with a friendly, yes, KV5. Managed to get one into his side and damage his engine. And despite this KV5's best efforts, he is blocking my shot. And there we go, we got a dead VK45A. It's funny, the KV5 uses the same 107mm gun that I'm using on this tank. Ugh, that tank. That is something else. That's a video for another day, maybe. Now I decided it's best to push into the tanks remaining at their spawn. I don't want to attempt to go at the tank destroyers back towards the eastern part of the map with all these tanks at my flank and my rear, as I will get punished by them, and decide to come up and help this bulldog, who unfortunately is a coward and is backing off. He does not suppress the enemy bulldog that he was suppressing whenever I pulled up, and I get killed by the STA. We're just going to watch homeboy here for a hot second. You can see this enemy bulldog has initiative and just charges the shit out of him. When you're in a light tank, or a medium for that matter, and something is charging you this fast, don't drive backwards. Go forwards. Also, don't use your auto lock to shoot at a tank that's moving quickly and laterally across the front of your tank. You can see every single one of this guy's shots are auto-aimed and they're all missing. Free aim and actually do damage. Despite my untimely death, I had a pretty good game. Wow, what, most damage in the room? Top of the board? No complaints. Oh, and a bounce straight out of the gate. Now I'm getting shot at by a Panzer IV Schmalmturm, which is a pretty good tier 6 medium tank, and he is hull down, concealing much of his hull. If I could have managed to have gotten a shot into his turret, I more than likely would have penetrated the shit out of it, but such is not the case. A VK36 rolls up on me here, and I start putting it into him. I am just using AP, and this is a tier 7 game. As I was saying in the previous match's commentary, I played a bunch of games as I am trying to get my third mark of excellence, and I didn't see any tier 9 action at all. So I was hoping I could maybe get some bottom tier footage to show you guys that I, maybe had a good game in, but such was not the case. I played in a few tier 7 games and a bunch of tier 8 games, and well, this is the cream of the crop. Alright, that being said, back to the game. Tier 6s generally don't pose much of a threat to you in the KV3, as it is a bit robust of a beast. Rolling up on this VK36, get a little bit of a reverse side scrape going on here as I come around just to plant a shot into him, and immediately swing it back. and rotate my armor around. This fucker damages my gun, but at this range it doesn't matter, so I opt not to use my repair kit. Managed to hit his side armor there, though, and do bounce off. It's not going to happen, just going to put it straight through the old upper glacis. Or maybe that was the gun manlet, I don't know. One way or the other, he's dead. I fixed my gun, as I don't want to drive around with a damaged gun. You know, at point-blank range, it's really not a big deal, but anything in excess of 100 meters, you're definitely going to want your gun to aim fast and be as accurate as possible. When you have a 3.4 second aim time and 0.45 accuracy. Still haven't encountered anything of significant weight as of yet this round, and some shit has melted down on the eastern flank. I definitely want to try to tie up all the loose ends on this side of the map. Get one into the side of this Cromwell here. It's good news. He's gonna fucking run from me, as as you'd expect. But I'm not gonna let him get away, as you'd expect. It's just not fast enough, buddy. Snapshot. Roll down into the crevasse, and poise myself to shoot northward at the enemy tanks. This is where things start to go a little bit wrong, however. And there it is. Fucking artillery. And the Grilla. The Grilla at low tiers is one of those artilleries you need to be worried about. Once it gets the good gun, it can be pretty lethal. And I happen to be in a spot that he can hit with little effort. Now I bounced my first, and there it is, damaging my fuel tank. Now this has me worried. As I mentioned in the garage, fuel tanks are vulnerable on this tank, and I no longer have a repair kit. So if I get lit on fire, I will be down a fire extinguisher, and I will be unable to fix my fuel tanks, which means if I get lit on fire again, and there's the artillery again. This is an untenable position, I believe is the expression. I desperately want to get out of here, because this artillery is just chewing my asshole out. But the champion pushes up and prevents me from disengaging. Tried to break line of sight with the Gorilla there, but shit, there's the champion. So I gotta put at least one more shot into this guy. I'm also extremely worried about the eastern flank, as it has completely collapsed. I want to... God damn, fucking artillery again. Jeez, I'm distracted. I want to get back and defend the base, push the champion back, and I immediately try to disengage out of this situation, because I do not want to get lit on fire by that fucking artillery. You know, it's just like, there's nothing I can do about it, you know? It's like the only thing you can do in that kind of situation is just leave, and hope that you can go someplace where he can't hit you. Now, I do what I can to rally the remaining teammates to come back and support me as we go back and try to defend the base. There are 2 Japanese heavy tanks over here, at the very least. The Oni, and I believe an OI, as we'll see here in just a moment. And, you know, I'd like a little bit of help to deal with these tanks, you know? It's like I don't want to go mash up against 2 tanks by my lonesome. That wouldn't be very much fun. Fortunately, I have a... Oh, man, that guy gets me. Fortunately, I have an A43 in unison with me, and I'm talking to him in game chat there, trying to coordinate some efforts on the Oni. He didn't have a mic, but I like to think he was listening. He was a good player. He did the right thing and got behind this Oni as I came up forward. I managed to get a shot into the front of this bastard. A43 gets in behind him and quickly finishes him off. I'm not sure what the Oni is doing. Is he even playing? I don't know. Whatever the case, we got the back end secure. Switch back to the AP rounds. I flip a bitch and begin the long drive. Alright, back to business. Oh, there's the last remaining top-tier enemy heavy tank sitting idly at the base. And score a shot into him as he cowers in fear. As you can see, I've broken line of sight with him, though, and the detected goes back off. that means that artillery's looking at you. And whenever you break line of sight with all tanks that you know are looking at you, and your detected goes back off, that means that artillery's looking at you, and get into cover. Now, as it is often the case with top-tier heavy tank drivers that sit idly at their spawn for the entirety of the game, this guy's a bit of a bitch coward and is running from me. Here he's presented with a KV3 that's down to a third of his hit points. He has 100% of his hit points, and he's running like a bitch. What a bitch. Pop him in the ass, and wouldn't you know, there's the fucking artillery. He manages to get one into me and tries to get away, but it's just not looking good, buddy. You're dead. Thanks for all that harassment this game. Oh, and the T-29 pops me and lights me on fire, damaging my engine. And wouldn't you know, the Rudy driver that was with me finishes him off. Seems I was wrong. It wasn't an A43 with me. It was a Rudy. Good game, buddy. Keep playing like that, and I think you'll probably have a lot of fun playing this game. It's been a pleasure, folks. I encourage you to tune in regularly. Well, whenever I put up videos, I'll try to have more content for you here pretty soon. It's been the Long Con. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.